All right. Now you were saying about
The truth of the
no,
matter.
there's something about 10th graders
Oh yeah,
going to
okay.
a concert.
Yeah, okay. My first concert where I found out the light inside my skull had more to than I knew was at my first show that in 10th grade. I was 15, 16, and we went to see Jorma Kaukonen, the Hot Tuna, at the Comac Arena in Long Island, where I grew up on the North Shore. Anyway, so at the show, I get there, and I was getting stoned and whatnot, but then all of a sudden, I see a whole slice of America that I never saw before, which was these biker dudes and these fucking Hell's Angels types and then all these beautiful women running around and the guys getting drunk and laughing and this whole party. I was like, what the hell is this? And listening to the music, it was just like there. And somewhere in the second set, I was just like, what's this all about? I just said in my head, and it was in between songs. And Yorma pulls up and he sings a gospel number. And I'm sitting there going, I'm looking around at all the fucking fried, crispy, wonderful, nutty shit. And I'm like, what? Yeah. And it was like, it's the light of the world, or he played a song, True Religion, or one of these numbers where it's like, I believe in the Bible, I believe it's true, and, all this stuff. And I'm like, what? So my next lesson on that was that I thought of it, the song came on, and I was like, well, I logged that in as strange in my dial of I always register unique things that happened, and I just go, oh, maybe one day I'll know what that means or whatever. That's weird. And just keep moving, put in a file. So then, lo and behold, um, when I was doing the thing with wondering about the Led Zeppelin, and it is balloon, it is balloon, F Troop, and there's that blitzkrieg of the Raiders of the Lost Ark type fucking shit that was going on, because the Lost Ark is the Ark of the Covenant, you know what I mean? And you got the Led Zeppelin singing about she's buying a staircase to heaven, and you're like, as a kid, you're like trying to understand, wait a second, you buy a staircase to heaven, like earn your way to heaven? What the? But then in the literal crystallization of one of Christ's sayings, he says, come to me and buy gold that will not perish on earth. Come to me and buy gold. So, and then there's all these weird things in the crypt of the script that says things like, he who has ears, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches, or to the people, to the assembly. Because there was no churches in the old day. The word ecclesia for church means assembly of people. And where two or more are together in Christ's eye set, and they got the mind of like, what does this mean and why, what's this here for? When two or three are in that space zone, miracles happen, because you're divining, So the Grateful Dead taught me early on, because of my bent, the way I was bent, was I was looking as a kid, the kids doing, I was like, David had an ephod in the old day, in the script. And the ephod was this divination tool that they had back in the day. They don't really talk about it, because odd things that they don't really know about in the Bible, they just skip over and don't talk about. But the weird things in the Bible, as Michael Heiser would say, are the things that make you want to figure shit out. So, Ice Nine Productions is the name the band had for their publishing company. Now, if you know about the book where that Ice Nine comes from, it's the end of time in this fictional story where everyone's frozen over for fear or whatever, whatnot, and the world's growing cold, basically, and there's this substance called Ice Nine that's going to take out the whole thing. But I know in my German understanding of language, when I say nine, that means no. It ain't happening. Because the light of the spirit of humans that have a heart, that would be you, man, that would be me, man, and dialecting between the newspeak, the book. See, as a kid back in '75, when I bumped into this fucking, like, what's the deal? I go, God, if all this stuff's true, how are you gonna get the word out? And yeah, you know. So then I'm trailing the Led Zeppelin, and then all of a sudden I come walking out before wrestling practice as like 15, 16, and come up, and this guy Madden's there, Eric Madden, and he's just the best guy, man. He's just a pisser. He blew off sports early and wore a Black Sabbath jacket. He was just badass, cool ass dude, right? Anyway, probably the best athlete in the school, and he just blew off sports, you know. But so he said to me, he goes, Greg, I go, look, he goes, do you know that song on the radio? I go, what? He goes, Stairway to Heaven. I go, yeah, everyone knows it. It's like fucking on every fucking channel. He goes, well, you know, it's really weird that when they play it backwards, I'm like, what do you mean when they play it backwards? Who the fuck would play it backwards? He goes, that's what I said. He goes, when they play it backwards, it says Satan is Lord in the lyrics. He goes, and Jimmy Page is like playing with this dark side of town, and it's like black magic and all this fucking shit. I'm like, what the fuck? And they have these songs called, I'm listening to Houses of the Holy, and I'm going, they're messing with some heavy shit. Oh, wow, they are really messing. You mess with God, you're messing with some heavy shit. I was like, this is heavy shit, because I was the mother of a nightmare, the father and brother and sister. The nightmare I had in '71 was basically because of hindsight, and that's when you look at your ass and go, what the hell just happened? You look in the rearview mirror and you're like, what the fuck was that? So there I am in the rearview mirror looking out my ass going, I've been miracled so many times when I call on my Redeemer. And the first time I asked him to co-sail my ship, and that was the exact literal terms this born-again dude told me to do. I said, I'm a stoner and a womanizer, man. I don't know what God wants anything to do with me, man. I'm just like, I lost the girl of my dreams, and I'm just, I don't think I'll ever recover. That's my whole life right there. But God had other things in mind, because he turned me on to the Grateful. And first of all, I started getting oracled in, and I was fucking flipping out. And I said to God, I go, God, you got to give me someone on this plane that I can rap with, because, yeah, I know you said, listen, one of the deals he said to me was, are you willing to go crazy to follow me? I said, I swallowed hard. I said, okay, Lord, yeah, But I didn't know how crazy I had to get. And thankfully, as one of my favorite comedians would say, who was the Mork and Mindy guy again? Robin Williams. Get up, if you don't keep some of that crazy, man, it's gonna fucking suck. Interestingly enough, when Bobby passed 3 weeks ago, I was right in the finishing touches of understanding the Brother Esau saga that I've been wrestling with since he sung it in '83, which was, the more my brother looks like me, the less I understand, But the key of my experience, which I'm sharing, and I feel like it's the only thing I have, that I'm so dead serious about the power of music to transform existence itself, that I found a door inside myself. It's a doors of perception. I experienced what Jim Morrison experienced. I experienced what Hendrix. Let me explain to you the spirit world. And let me give you a little old world, new world shit, okay? Now, the New World Order, I know all about that, and I'll give you a vision on that down the line. But what I want to get to right now is the rock and roll story of Genesis. I know they have a new project out there. These modern witchcrafters want to talk about some Genesis project they're talking about. But the real Genesis project I'm working on is the genesis of a spirit-led people. And the genesis of that comes back from interpreting the book of Daniel's dreams properly, which I was born in a desert and raised in a lion's den. And while that sounds romantic and beautiful, in the end, you're in the desert. When Neil Cassidy died, he died of exposure out on the railroad tracks, okay? And when that hero fucking mystic rider who was eloquently like a modern trippy Edgar Casey who came tripping through San Francisco and blew all those minds back in the day, and you had guys like the man himself, Ken Kesey, who was a Oregon state champ wrestler. He was physically a manimal. You wouldn't mess with him physically, intellectually, emotionally. The guy was one of the promontory riders, predatory rangers that Robert Hunter wrote. See, Robert Hunter and Jerry and Barlow and Phil and all accountable records, if you didn't have eyes to see, Jerry was all over the Ezekiel story when he was writing Eyes of the World, and they were writing that music. And when Bobby Weir, Jerry called Bob up and said, Bobby, check out Ezekiel over here, man. Bobby wrote Estimated Prophet on that rip, which is fire wheel burning in the air. Now, if you understand what the fire wheel is, in the ancient Nazarite oath, that the Nazis took the fire wheel symbol of a spinning, which was the eyes of the world. The eyes of the world is the throne described in the Bible, where they see the face of a lion, the face of an eagle, the face of the bull, and the face of a human. And in the wheels within wheels that spin, and there's eyes all over the Godhead chariot that's there and hovering above and around all of us when we're in that sense of supplication. Like when Bobby Weir sang that song Supplication, it was just like, oh my God. Or Lazy Lightning, which happened to be my problem of being a lazy lightning. But once I understand Lightning and Glory is going to be my name, because of the greatest story ever sung, was the greatest story ever sung. Because it forced me into understanding the difference between Moses came riding up on a guitar, is what Hunter wanted to write, and Bobby goes, I don't want to sing Moses came riding up on a guitar. I'm not Moses. I'm part of the crew that's looking for Moses. Kind of. Or that's how it worked out. Because they said, well, listen, and anyone that doesn't think this was a Godhead, this was the Grateful Dead was a mystical Bible, LS expressionism of question. It was like the think tank. And I'd go in there and it was insane. So, but wondrous. And once when Mickey Hart turned on world famous Joseph Campbell to the Dead, and Campbell came in and ate and tasted the energy inside that arena, he just was lit up. And when he hung out with all those guys, he outdrank everyone under the table because he was so fired up and so excited about finding this trip in modern day, you know? And that's how I felt when I was young and I first started hanging out on the great. I said, this is a lost tribe of Israel. It's got to be. Look at these. This is like Bohemian Rhapsody. Why? Because you don't fit in this society, because the society is trying to tell you, we got to kill these people over here, and we got to need our tax money so we can drive around in our fucking cars, and we got to do this and that, and it's like, it's just evil incarnate almost, so that you just don't want to be in the system. But as Bobby would say, there's a fear down here we can't forget, hasn't got a name just yet, always awake, always around, singing ashes to ashes all fall down. Well, and the politicians throwing stones, and the rich man hanging out in the summer home says, just leave well enough alone. Well, now his pants are down, his cover's blown. You see, the emperor has no clothes on. And it's obvious if you see the dark shadow lines of the falsehoods that are there. So I am just trying to be a beacon of light on the northbound train, because Garcia lit me up, Phil and Bobby carried me, and now I lost my wings. So now I'm a lion now is forced to walk around and be like a man. So instead of just being an animal, and I've been praying with the band, Prey. I've been like a lion on the hunt for wisdom, and every scriptural pattern I found, I said, oh my God, do I have to live this freaking story too? Gideon had his eyes on the floor. He says in the morning, he goes, listen, the golden fleece, right? The whole story is about the golden fleece, right? Well, the golden fleece was the actual garment that God made for Adam. He goes, listen, man, we're going to have to kill this sheep. He goes, that was my favorite, that sheep. We got to kill that sheep so I can have clothes. He goes, yeah, because you fucking didn't come to me first before you. So anyway, I have some details on how I interpret the garden party and how we're supposed to get back to the garden. But since I'm an architect and I've been measuring the inside of the temple, so you understand Reuben and Charisse, Reuben and Ruby, it's not only the story, my little personal story of Jacob's Ladder, because I fell in love with Cherie, then I married Ruby, and then I lost Cherie and Ruby and the whole thing, because not that I couldn't make up my mind. You have to be a sailor to understand. Bottom line is, the red hairy man and brother Esau, and the red, it's the ties going back to the Red Scare. We are Edom. The Edomites are the ones that went Esau's route and gave up the birthright and the blessing. And I do not want to give up my birthright or my blessing. And my birthright is that we are here to bring songs of joy in the middle of all the chaos and the horse shit. Sing a song of joy, because the real prophets are like Jerry, who would take a song like from the Old Testament or New Testament, and he'd make a new song out of it, and he'd bring it into the new day, and he'd say, so if you were Lot and you heard Jerry sing this song to you personally, like one-on-one, and you're just sitting there going, he goes, just a song for Gomorrah, I wonder what happened there, must have been a bad thing to get shot down for. Anyway, the rest of the song goes, Lot, you got to tell him the story of what happened, of how I shattered your skull socket and turned you into a fire-breathing dragon. Because the seven-headed seals of the seventh fire stands that carry the book of Revelation is what the goal was. Shadow boxing the apocalypse. That's what I've been doing. And now it's time to not just take the gloves off, because I'll always wear the gloves. You know why? I don't fight against humans. I fight against spiritual institutions and principalities that want to oppress us. So when Bobby sang the song Shadow Boxing the Apocalypse and wandering the land and watering the land, what a piece of moral ground these guys gave me to be able to tell you, yeah, you know why Barlow, when the greatest story ever told, when Jerry and Hunter were in the Bible so tight, and they said, okay, Bobby, you want to write songs? We got this psycho divinity student, cool ass motherfucking nutbag called John Barlow, who just blew up some fucking thing in the, you know, because he had enough of the whole bullshit. And they said, you know the Bible, you helped Bobby write this shit. And he's like, you like hanging out with me? He goes, me? What the fuck are you talking about? Anyway, they're comedians and they're fucking geniuses, and they're the best thing that I ever saw. And so this is my first cannon shot off over your bow, because my words carry power and brimstone. And Joe Russo's Almost Dead will tell you what I'm talking about when they have this song called Fire and Brimstone, because music's going to become the weapon that dismantles the universe. The one verse, God loves you, and he wanted a family, and that's why he said he created. God thought he'd have a party called Planet Earth. Well, I had a vision on my 7th show at Red Rocks. I didn't even know what the hell was going on, but I was like, what the hell? And I look up in the clouds, and I'm like, that's fucking weird. 10,000 people are at the concert or whatever. And Jerry's just beaming in on me like, what you see. And I was like, what the fuck? I have too many stories. But
well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm definitely going to need more Google hard drive space.
Chris, I'm going to be documenting this. I have a friend that we're both in the
Looks
same
like I'm signing up for the larger plan shortly.
Well, listen, when God moves,
but that was a good 22 minutes right there.
All right.
Well, that went quick.
Well, it wasn't bad. Did you enjoy the conversation?
Yeah. As much as I could follow. Right. You know, well, I just got started. It's going to take, you know what I mean? I got there's a filter somewhere in there.
Are you still taping?
Yeah.
Good. So the mystical question mark of the universe is, what's the answer to the answer, man? What's the answer to the answer, man? And you know what the Dead played every time they came? They followed up with that, what was that, St. Stephen, whatever rip that was from. Anyway, what would be the answer to the answer, man? And what's the season for? And what's it all for?
That'll be the next clip. I'm going to stop it here. 23 minutes.
Okay.
Of pearly wisdom. All right, let's stop it right here.